What do you want to do here? Do you want to just look at the ladder and then look at what
ladder?
Welcome to the pod, by the way.
The NRL ladder.
This is the sports podcast.
Yeah.
Sports pod.
If you're into sport.
Gosh,
You've come to the right place.
Because it's spicy at the moment. That weekend, all the results that we wanted, I think it happened.
Spicy, that's the word.
The Broncos-Eels match. With Eels losing, we automatically guarantee a spoon bowl for the final weekend of the footy, which is amazing. That's
for that Parramatta West Tigers.
Oh, yeah.
Because this weekend the Tigers have a bye, so they go 2 points ahead of Para.
Yeah.
And then if Para happen to win this weekend, when then they go back to being equal. And the Tigers have the worst for and against, they'd be going back. So we get to the following week. If the Eels win, they go 2 points ahead.
True.
If the Tigers win,
So regardless of what happens this weekend,
they could both get 2 points, or the Tigers go ahead.
Now bear in mind, Parramatta this weekend Parramatta is playing. St George Illawarra.
Yep.
So for me, being a Broncos fan, I'm going to be cheering for Parramatta like it's Peter Sterling, Brett Kenny, 1986.
And I
Yo,
think- back.
Price,
And I think-
Mr. Perpetual
I think
Motion,
Parra-
the Crow,
Yes.
Zip, Allah.
Zip. I think
Eric
the Eels are due.
Well, I guess it comes down to, like, if you can't play finals football, one or two things is going to happen. Like right in the heat of the battle, where it's really, really tough and you need to sort of draw deep, you're either going to go, I can't be bothered. Like on some level, go,
You've clocked out.
I've clocked off, or you're going, hang on a second. There's a new coach coming. We're a chance of finishing with the wooden spoon. I am playing for my future here. Like there'll be players there that are going, I need to impress. It's Jason Rolls, isn't it?
Yep.
I'm playing for my future. If I don't impress this coach, I might not be back next year. I might not be back in November for pre-season.
I think the issue with this game specifically is I don't think they have anything to play for in this one. Because if they win it, they still got to win next week to not come last. Yeah. If they lose it, they've still got to win next week to not come last. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
So I don't know if they'll save their
saying.
bullets for... And then you got the Dragons who are actually playing for something, who are playing for a spot in the 8. It'd be interesting.
You can't be one game. You've got to put together a body of work, as Ash said.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You can't just be one game right at the end and go, that'll save my graces for next year. It's these last few weeks now. You've got to put everything together.
There's nothing for them, literally, like, psychologically, there'd be nothing saying
team-wise, gone.
They don't need to, like, put their bodies on the line or whatever. I've heard James Graham on Fox Sports said the Eels should rest all their players for this week and save them all for next.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in a lot of respects, no one remembers who nearly won the wooden spoon. Everybody remembers who won the who won the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
So I can actually see some merit in that, but that's going to have to be something that the NRL starts addressing. Like if teams who are if you're in their position, you could be 16th on the ladder. If you start resting players, it's not a great look because you do want to see the best.
But
players.
Melbourne can do it.
You know what I mean? But I guess
And
Melbourne's earned the right to do it as well. You could argue Melbourne has earned the right to sort of take a week off, where Parramatta most definitely hasn't. I mean, they haven't been able to put their best foot forward for the whole year.
I guess it's
But they're well within they have the same right to do that, Buzz, as what Craig Bellamy does.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
To rest the players against the Cowboys. So what do you... I think it could also depend on something as simple as how they start as well. You know what it's like? Like if Parramatta come out of the blocks and they, jag an early try, all of a sudden the people are starting to get around each other and you just get that sort of... Whereas if they're up against it early, they might just go, F this.
Can't be bothered.
That's what scared me the other night. When they were 16-0 up after, 11 minutes? I didn't realise it was that quick, and I had the wrap-up the next day.
Bang, yeah.
I was so scared because that same game 2 years ago, I know it was the year they made the grand final, but they put more than 50 on the Bronx, and it had that feeling about it the other night. And I hate Parramatta. And just thought, here we are going, we've got the slimmest of slim finals hopes, and here we are. It was such a great night otherwise leading into it. Obviously, big night for us. We had handball blitz there at halftime, and I thought we could be going out there, and the Broncos are down by 30.
I was worried for handball blitz.
Yeah. And Nick, you did a really good job, like as GA. I think we weren't in it for that first 15 or 20, and you weren't pushing the crowd hard to try and lift because you can't fake that stuff.
Do it.
I thought when you interjected and involved yourself.
Remember you got the Broncos chant going? And
I was the first 2 tries.
Yeah.
I can't claim it, but...
No, I said to Mitch, I said that was Nick's going to claim that.
Yeah.
So you should.
They need to fix the PA there. I couldn't
So
hear.
something. I got some feedback on that.
I
Something
couldn't
went
hear
down.
you. I was actually saying to Ash, we couldn't hear you where we were sitting originally.
At the southern end of the stadium.
And
yeah.
then when we
down
walked
low.
around to the northern end, getting ready for handball blitz, you're coming through way clearer.
Yeah, could I remember I said to you, I
Yeah.
said, oh, mate, you can't even hear you down there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's not as good as what I thought because people can hear you at the southern end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Quite clearly,
Yeah.
in fact.
It's a worry almost.
Just anyway, away from that, the other big game is Broncos Redcliffe.
This
So
weekend.
are we going to have tickets to give away on the show? By the
No,
way,
it's a Dolphins home game.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a Dolphins home game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Look how close these stats are between the Broncos and the Dolphins. Broncos have won 45% of their games this year. Redcliffe has won 45% of their games. Broncos have conceded 517 points. Redcliffe 558. Broncos average points scored per game 23. Dolphins 24.
Wow.
Average points conceded per game. Broncos 23. Dolphins 25. It's very, very close. Can you imagine how much Wayne Bennett would love to end the Broncos season and to be the coach responsible for keeping them out of finals football? Mm-hmm. And can you imagine on the flip side how much Kevy would love to do it?
Yeah.
To the
Well,
super
exactly.
coach.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the mind games this week. Really want to see how these narratives play out. Does Bennett sit back and know that they'll remember when it was always Broncos Souths and the media would come straight to Bennett and he'd just stand back and let them essentially do the talking for him. I wonder if he sits back this week
Yeah.
and just lets everyone play it out for him.
Well, I don't know. He's going to need to do something special. Somebody was telling me, or I was looking at a stat, or what's the Dolphins' recent run?
Not
they,
good.
They haven't won a game of football for a long, long time.
Well, they're 1-4 in the last 5, I think.
But it's worse than that. Like their long run, and somebody has traced it back to the second that Wayne signed.
11 games they've lost, I think, since then.
The second that Wayne signed on to be the Bunnies coach for next year, it's coincided with a collapse from the Dolphins.
I think it was like either 1-2 and lost 11 or something to that effect since he signed on for because they were in remember them they were in the top 4 for
Oh,
ages.
they've been outstanding. Like
Yeah.
well, I reckon what Wayne Bennett it'd be actually interesting to sit down with Wayne and see where his performances from the last 2 years ranks in terms of his whole career. Because be honest, when you saw the playing list and you knew the Dolphins were coming into the competition, who thought, wooden spoon material here, like left, right, and centre, slapping
First
a
couple
team
of
together
years.
without any great big names?
Yeah, and
I mean, Hamaso was not even playing regular first grade for the Cowboys, and they signed him on a song to come down to the Dolphins. Now he's a mainstay in the Australian team,
Yep.
a superstar.
I think a lot of people tipped him to not even win a game that first season.
Yep.
But they've uncovered some pretty good players. Marshall King,
Bostock.
Katoa, Bostock.
Yeah, what about Katoa?
What's his name? Who's playing hooker for them at the moment? Plath.
Yeah, Plath. Also, they brought the best out of Jeremy Marshall King. He's been outstanding at hooker before. Yeah, Plath has come on. Bostock. No one had heard of these guys.
Even Nicarima.
Yeah,
Like he'd been
Nicarima
everywhere.
brought him back from the dead.
Yeah.
Got the best out of like Tom Gilbert. They've still done it all without Tom Flegler.
Who's the guy? Ewan Aitken.
Yeah.
He's turned into they've moved him into the back row and he's playing good footy.
And they've got a fearsome forward pack. The Bromwich brothers, Kafusi, like it's, Gilbert, Flegler. Like these are big names now.
Wallace.
Jeremy Marshall King, when he's there, is outstanding. And most of all, that Isaiah Katoa.
Yeah, he's so good.
That's amazing what he's doing. He's still only 20 years of age.
Crazy.
He's now got probably close to 30, 40 games of NRL under his belt. He's these halves these days, they don't even become outstanding until they've got a lot of years of football under their belt. He's only going to get better and better. To me, he's an origin player. Like he's somebody that will play for New South Wales, and you will definitely in years to come will be putting pressure on to be the Blues half. I know you got Nathan Cleary.
Well,
he'll
even
be there
5'8",
for a
though,
long
to
time,
be
but
fair,
he'll be
Because he could play that role. Like he's
probably could.
Like that'd be And then you guys got like Sam Walker and Tom Dearden coming through. Like the origin is set in terms of halves for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I think the Bronx can make the 8. I think they're banking on the fact that Melbourne will rest players in their last game, though. I think that's because I don't think I think Melbourne will take that if they don't rest players, they'll take that game dead serious because they might have to play Penrith round 1 of the finals and they'll want to be on for that.
I'm just looking at the most likely
I reckon they'll
setup.
play full strength against Brisbane.
I do as
Melbourne.
well. And to be fair, I heard it.
Blows
I've been
off the
saying it
park.
for weeks, I think, but I heard it on a podcast. Brandon Smith, the Cheese, said that Harry Grant told him that they were always going to rest players for this Cowboys game because it's their longest trip, and they were always going to go full strength against the Bronx. So it's been the plan for a long
Thanks
time.
a lot, Bella.
We're looking at the final makeup of the forward. Like Storm doesn't really matter what happens the next couple of weeks. They're obviously finishing first. The Roosters have the Raiders this Sunday.
Yeah.
And then they have the Rabbitohs.
And
So
what about
we could-
the Knights have got the Titans? So the Titans look like they've put the queue in the rack. So who's Newcastle got? On the
They finish off with the Dolphins, the final game of the regular season. They've got the Dolphins.
Jeez.
Well,
So it could come down to that, just like it did with the AFL.
all right, I'm just going to have a look.
So you would expect the Roosters to win both of those games. The Panthers, they have the Warriors this weekend, and then they they have the Rabbitohs. Looking at a different team. They've got the Rabbitohs this weekend, and then they finish off with the Titans, the Panthers. So you would expect they would win both of those games. Whereas Cronulla, who are currently sitting in third, they've got the Warriors, but then they finish it off against Manly.
That's a tough
So
game.
there's a chance they only win one of those two. So by the look, I would almost say it would finish Melbourne, Roosters, Penrith, Cronulla.
Tell you what's interesting, the Penrith loss to the Raiders, I think, has affected their plans to rest players leading into finals. But it also may affect the Roosters and Sharks as well. Because I know the Roosters, there was chat about them using this weekend coming against Canberra to rest a few players.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they will now because playing... The Roosters would have had likely Penrith if Penrith came second.
Yeah.
But now they've got the opportunity to play the Sharks.
Yeah.
If they keep second spot, it's going to be an interesting last few weeks for everybody.
The Broncos, just in the time that we've been doing the show today, when was that about? It was about an hour ago. So I wonder what the Bronx are paying to win the premiership.
I just saw it, yeah.
That was like an hour ago. They were at 150 to 1.
Yeah.
What's happened now?
They're at 81.
What?
Yeah.
They've come in from. They've come in from. Mitch, I got on them at 150.
Good.
I just went. Did you guys back them at 150?
No,
I'm
not
gonna have
that
a look
far.
now. What app are you on, just out of interest?
On
What has judiciary come out and has someone been suspended from like Dragons or somewhere? Like is something?
well, the Dragons have blown out to 151. So what's happened in the last hour?
That's what I mean. There must be either an injury or a suspension.
I got 101 on mine.
Jump on it.
Yeah, well, the Dragons got
Done.
who have they got this week? The Dragons. Sorry, they've got Parramatta, as we said, and then they go and play the Raiders. So
No, they could win both those games.
they could win both.
Could. You know?
Also,
Well, Raiders season will be over in the last round, like assuming that they get beaten.
yeah, well,
by-
they're the only one out. Like you've got those 4 teams that are sitting right behind the Dragons on 26 points. The Raiders are the only one of the 4 that don't have a better for and against.
Yeah. They're
Then-
at 500 to 1.
Yeah.
The Raiders. Now,
Yeah.
it's out like. It just gets hectic. Like, I mean, the Raiders, they are in with a chance.
Raiders at $36 to make the 8 on my betting.
Are they really?
Yeah.
That's probably the
Bronx at 550.
That's probably the longest they've been all year to make the 8. Like 500 to 1 is what they'd like.
Yeah.
They'd give us if we put a team together. Like,
Exactly. That's as big as it gets.
yeah, you don't see anything bigger than 500 to 1.
That's crazy to think that. So to make the 8 on my one that I'm looking at now, Bronx are 550 and St. George are 183. But to win the comp, yeah, the Bronx are 101 and St. George are 151.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
So someone obviously thinks that if Broncos make the 8, then they've got a better chance of winning the whole thing.
Yes.
I'd be worried if, I think the Bronx could do it. To be honest with you, they'd be the first team to win it outside the 4 ever.
Well, it sounds like they're going to have to. They're going to have to beat Melbourne. Where is that game? That final game?
At
It's
Suncorp.
at Suncorp.
And you know what's good though? Like if they win this week against the Dolphins, that game that will against Melbourne was almost looking like a bit of a dead rubber. It'll sell out.
Absolutely.
Like it'll be a sellout. There'll be 50,000 people there.
It's a Thursday night off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Does
Is it?
anyone
Yeah.
know? I always forget how this works. So say it's Melbourne, Penrith 1 and 4.
Yep.
Okay, and then Brisbane, would finish 8th if we do make it. 5v8, which
Yes.
was probably going to put us against the
Doggies.
Doggies. Say we win that.
Yeah, you're
Who do we play in the second
Roosters
week?
or Sharks. So the loser of the second v3.
Okay, so I've got my hand on it. Just let me roll here.
Okay.
But we get into the 8.
Yep.
We beat the Doggies.
Mhm.
We can beat Cronulla. Like
Yeah.
we can beat Brisbane. Can beat Cronulla.
Mhm.
Then who would we have?
Melbourne or Penrith, the winner of that 1v4.
In a prelim.
Yep, for a spot in the
So
grand
we
final.
we get the winner of. We have to go through the winner of 1v4.
Yes.
Jeez. Like, now how hard's that? Like, yeah, wow.
But it's
And then play
The other
in a
one.
grand final.
exactly.
The
But
other
but then
one. Wow.
let's say switch the situations around. If you beat say the Doggies, you would have had to have played Melbourne or Penrith in that next round anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you'll definitely come up against one of them. You'd
Yeah,
think
you got to beat them at some point.
before. Yeah. I don't
But
know.
I mean, I just think as far as that first week of finals concerned, that 1v4 being Melbourne v Penrith, like they're the two sides that should be in the grand final.
Yeah.
You know, but based on what we've seen this year, that have stood out as
it
being
still might happen.
the number
Yeah,
one.
the fact-
It
yeah.
could still happen, but
because if Penrith finish second or third, then they go on opposite sides of the draw anyway.
yeah.
But I still don't think it'll be a grand final. Oh no, it would. Yeah, I think the first time they could meet each other would be a grand final.
After the week, yeah. Well, say look back at the Broncos and Cowboys 2015. They played each other in the first week of the finals,
Yeah.
and then met
Yeah.
again in the grand final. So
now I'm
yeah.
starting to think I wasted my money, even at 150.
I know. There's a reason it's 150.
Okay, and what about the Lions? Geez, I find that weird that the AFL takes off a week.
Yeah,
like
so-
in the middle of the season. Who's ready for there not to be any football?
Yeah, it's been a
over
mistake.
weekend?
What do they do, Brown?
So a few years ago, and this is, I guess, the difference to the NRL is that teams, if they worked out they qualified for finals, and so, for example, the last one, and this is the one that pushed it over the edge, Richmond and North Melbourne met in the final round of the season, and it had already been worked out they were going to play each other again in the first week of finals. So North Melbourne pretty much went out and go, well, it doesn't matter what happens this game. They sent out essentially their Q Cup team to just bash up Richmond that week, and then the next week in the final, rolled them in the game that actually mattered. So
That's interesting.
yeah, so it was to try and protect the integrity. It now gives, especially with concussion stuff coming in, they say it gives players that extra week to recover.
Oh no,
I still like the NRL
I
system
think
because
it's great for the players. I can see the merit in it, but it's just for the fans and just thinking, even for the TV,
yeah.
for the TV
Well,
holders. it's
what do
like
they do?
They just miss out a week
Is
of
Brownlow
games.
that week?
No, they
No,
should do
Brownlow's
that.
the week of
That's
the
grand final week. They
grand
asked the
final.
AFLW season does start this week now, so there is football there, and they've at least given it its own sort of berth to use that space. But I agree, like 'cause it then rewards the team that carries the most momentum. They're just trying to essentially get the best product. Every team have the most players available for finals, and that's how the Dogs came from nowhere and won it in the first year that happened.
I don't want to bring it back to NRL, but don't you reckon the NRL have missed a trick not having a Melbourne Storm home game this weekend with no AFL because they're playing in Townsville? I know, like obviously,
Yeah.
Yes.
Melbourne
Yes,
are now
no,
resting a lot of
no,
players.
100%.
I was in thinking today that I keep
Actually,
forgetting
seems
about.
ridiculous that
Yeah.
they're not. They put them in.
That's something they could have foreseen.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
They put them as far away from Melbourne as they possibly can.
Well, we've got River Fire this Saturday in Brisbane, the same night the Broncos and Dolphins are playing each other.
Yeah, I think.
Did
So
that
like-
happen
I think-
last year? Got some sort of-
Yeah.
Oh, you geez. Oh, no,
did it-
actually,
or-
no. The Broncos and Dolphins played at the same time. There was a Lions game down at the Gabba.
That's right.
That
That's
definitely happened for one of their clashes. But yeah, that'll
Maybe
be.
we were just talking about earlier in the year, so
Yeah.
this was going to happen.
Will they get 50,000 to that Dolphins Bronx game? They should, right?
They should. I would hope that they
Surely.
would.
The
issue,
issue, I guess, is it's a Dolphins home game.
5:30 on
Definitely if it was
Saturday.
Broncos.
That's going to be huge. That's going to be
Broncos fans will
huge.
still pack it out.
Yeah, they'll still pay.
When is that? 5:30? Did you say?
I think Saturday.
5:30. They're trying to I read somewhere they're trying to combine it with like the kick-off to River Fire as well. So there's like a big sort of spectacle fireworks going off at the same time as kick-off.
That'd be cool. You get the 5, 4, 3, 2, and that just as the,
I know they're trying to work together
Someone
on that.
does a
but,
dump and
you know,
burn.
Yeah.
that'd be epic. They should have something coordinated for half time too.
Elfie does a dump and burn.
So I guess
Someone lights it.
the result of that, the Lions will now play next Saturday night against Carlton, rematch of round 1 where they lost by a point, and rematch of the prelim final.
Which is what, 5v8?
5v8.
Do or die.
Loser go home.
Loser goes home. Winner will
Tell
play.
your story, Walker.
Yeah, winner will play the loser of Sydney and GWS, which is not great either
No.
way, but it's incredible. The Lions only missed that double chance spot by, I guess, 2 1-point losses throughout the year, and they had that draw against Adelaide, and that was it. Their percentage was superior, but end of the day, it's still their inaccurate kicking, which is the one question mark hanging over the top of them.
Yeah, they find that area plenty of times throughout the game, but just looking at that, where it's like eight goals and
11-21 on the
14
weekend
behind,
is
it's
not
like,
great.
Yeah, not good.
Lockie Neal, third line of the betting for the Brownlow. He racked 40 touches on Saturday night.
He's betting heavy.
Well, I've got the app open.
I've got it open. It's he's sitting at $6 at the moment.
Even just the way it all shaped up last night, like Carlton were in front by however many, and it got down to who they play against. Sorry,
Played
St Kilda. St Kilda with it like 1:40 to go had a
They
kick
were
from
ahead.
in front by 40 yards out maybe, and he got it behind, and it brought them to within
From in
4
front?
points.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it
essentially.
made it 74-70. And then it got down, they kicked a goal, and it sort of come out of nothing. A lot of scuffling going around. This bloke's just a bit of a Hail Mary, sort of kick over the back of his head. And they scored a goal to steal a 2-point lead with 14 seconds to go, which Carlton was sitting in 8th, but then the following game was Fremantle and Port Adelaide. And Port Adelaide are in 2nd.
Yeah, they were
Fremantle
fine.
are out of finals contention, but were the favourites for the game.
Fremantle had to win that game to get into finals. So
Yeah.
Freo fans are celebrating as St Kilda, get the win.
Yeah.
And then only to just,
Well,
shit the bed
Like
at the
just
end.
the last game.
So
it's going to happen in the NRL
They fixed
as well.
it well. Yeah.
have you seen what the betting is for the just to go back to the NRL for a second, for the Cowboys Storm match?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. No, I have.
They
Yeah.
got the Cowboys at $1.52
Yeah,
and
Storm.
Melbourne's at $2.55. I mean, you look at that, you think, oh, they made a mistake.
But if you bet on that like a week ago before, because Bellamy
Yeah.
said in his post-game press conference, he's like, oh, yeah, we'll be resting players. Like, he's flat out said it.
Yeah.
You probably would have got a way better number there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, on the Cowboy, like it was a different game for them
But
a
then
week ago too.
then you find out he's resting, like you're like, no, you got to rest Munster. You got to rest
Yeah.
Hughes.
Bellamy will rest himself.
Pappenhausen,
Perhaps.
please.
They will, for sure.
He went down hard on the weekend. I was like, not another knee. Like, I just was so worried about that knee or whatever.
But
it is.
also, you weren't worried. You're like, oh, I got to play.
I
play
wasn't.
them,
I
play
actually wasn't
them.
thinking about the Broncos game. I wasn't that far. Wasn't that far ahead. So, and just on the Bronx too, the NRLW side yesterday, a massive win against the Tigers. They were down 12-0 pretty early, 12-6 at halftime, 14-6 just after, and then they scored 7 unanswered tries in the second half.
Bang, bang, bang,
44-14. Absolutely
Yeah,
killed
good.
it. Yep. So now they're in second. So they lost their first 2 and have now won 3 on the trot. They're back at home this Sunday. Totally Workwear Stadium at East Leagues Club. They're playing the Cowboys,
It's a
actually.
great little venue, isn't it?
I love it, yeah.
It's a really
so
great venue.
Father's Day action this Sunday. If you want to head out there, yeah.
Nice one.